My story is about a man and a woman. They were married and retired, living in Vermont, up in New England. It occurred in 1945, right after World War II had ended, and the story occurred at that time. One day, John, the retired man who used to work for the railroad, after working, he retired, and every morning he would get up to go to the woods to chop firewood, take it back home to put in the fireplace. His wife, Mary, would use the fire for cooking and warming the house. They didn't have much money. They weren't rich at all. They had to be very careful with their money. So one day, John was walking to the woods, just as he did every day, and he got close to the forest and he noticed a dog. Oh, it was a beautiful dog, an Irish setter, a hunting dog. It was really beautiful. He looked around, wondering who it was, and there was no one around. So they went into the woods. He saw a good tree and he started chopping away. He noticed the dog was hanging around, just looking, smelling the ground, going around the tree. So he left it. He forgot about the dog and kept on chopping. For the morning, on through the morning, he chopped the tree up, and he would not take all of it back to the house. He would come back the next day and get some more. So he started walking back home again with a load of wood on his back, and the dog followed him. He petted the dog and kept walking toward the house. He had forgotten about the dog by then. He went in, put the wood away. The owner was nowhere in sight. So he went in and called his wife, said, "Look at the dog." He started explaining about the dog following him into the forest and following him back home. "It's a beautiful dog." And Mary agreed. "I wonder who it belongs to. I feel later a person will come and get it." All day long and on into the night, it got dark and the dog was still running around in their yard. "Oh, I feel it's probably right. Maybe we ought to just send it outside and leave it." And so they put it outside and they went back to bed, and they were in bed all night. The next morning they got up and he started to go to the woods to get more firewood for the day. He got his axe, put it over his shoulder, and he saw the dog was still there. He was wondering, "Oh, well, my wife's still asleep." And John loved to go hunting, so he thought he'd see if the dog was a good hunting dog. So he went back in the house, and he put away the axe and got his rifle, and they went on out into the woods. And they hunted all morning. It was a wonderful dog. The dog would point and retrieve, and they got many good birds, and he put them in a sack and carried them on home, and the dog followed him on home. When he got home, he had to explain it to his wife, so he woke her up and says, "I've got a surprise for you." She woke up and saw all those beautiful birds laid out there. "How'd you get them?" And he explained, "Well, I thought I'd change my routine. Instead of going to get wood, I would go hunting with the dog. It's a wonderful dog, a very valuable dog, too." "Oh, that's beautiful," she said. But a little later, the wife saw that the husband was outside with the dog and saw the dog was being encouraged to follow her husband. So about noontime, when her husband came in to eat, she explained, "That's not right. It's to keep a dog that's not ours. Maybe it's best if you go to town, knock on a few doors, and find out who the dog belongs to and give it back to them." Well, he said, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. Inside I know it's right. I'll go and check." So he went and he knocked at 2 or 3 doors, and nobody knew anything about the dog. He came back and said, "Nobody knew anything about it." She said, "Oh, well, I have a better idea. Maybe we should put an ad in the paper. And, perhaps the dog belongs to some children, and they're real heartbroken over losing the dog. We have to be honest." So he said, "Okay," and he went to the newspaper, and he explained that he wanted to put an ad in the paper for 7 days because 7 days is cheaper than 1 day at a time. So for lower cost, they had the ad put in the paper. So the next morning he opened it up, and sure enough, there was the ad in the paper. And he still wanted to take opportunity to go hunting with the dog, before somebody came to take it away. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and no one had come. It was getting close to Christmas, and he felt, maybe people are busy. The war just ended recently. They're shopping and everything. Maybe they aren't paying attention about lost dogs. So we'll see. So it got closer to Christmas, and there was still no response. On the last day of the advertisement in the newspaper, the 7th day, 2 days before Christmas, he opened it up, and the ad was still there. In the morning, no one came. And he felt, well, after 7 days, maybe I can keep the dog. Maybe the people moved away or lost the dog and don't care about it. So he waited, and he went out to work on the fence, mending the fence in the front yard. And he noticed on the road a car coming around. Car was coming. There weren't many cars during that time, 1945, not around that area. So he was working on the fence, and then he noticed the car turned around and was coming into his driveway. And it pulled in. He was heartsick. He knew that the dog belonged to the owner of that car. And he followed his wife's advice. They had to be honest. The car was real fancy, and a young man came out. And, he must have been below 25, and he was dressed real nice, very rich clothing. And he walked up to John, and he says, "Excuse me, are you Mr. Noble, who put the ad in the newspaper about the lost dog?" He says, "Yes, I am. My name is John Smith, and I had a good hunting dog, and I lost it. I came to see if perhaps the dog you found is mine. Where's the dog?" And John said, "Oh, there he is, way over there." He hollered, whistled, and the dog came running up in front of them. And he says, "Is this your dog?" The man looked it over. "Oh, I don't know. It looks like my dog, a real strong resemblance, the color, and looks smart. He has a white spot on his forehead, just like my dog, but it's still hard to say. Wait a minute. What was the name of your dog?" "My dog's name was Henry." So they said, "Henry?" The dog just looked up and looked back down. Again said, "Henry?" No response. "Well, there's no response." He says, "Well, that's not my dog." He wouldn't answer to the name. My dog would respond immediately to the name if I called him. He says, "I'm sorry, it's just not my dog. Do you live here? Is this your home?" And John said, "Yes." "Oh, it's a nice place. Do you have your own dog?" He says, "No, I don't." "Do you like to hunt?" "Oh, yes, I love to hunt. And this is a wonderful hunting dog. I took a dog hunting a few days ago, and it's wonderful. It really enjoyed the hunting. You must have an owner. You sure it's not yours?" "No, it's not mine." "Well, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought it might be mine." And John was so relieved. He was glad it didn't belong to the man. "Maybe I'll get to keep it now." He reached out to shake his hand, and noticed that the man had an injured hand. He had injured it in the war. The man reached over with his other hand and shook. John felt sorry for the man. He had injured his hand in the war. He understood. And the man got in his car and took off. So he went running in the house. He said, "Mary, look, the dog didn't belong to the man. Maybe it's ours now. Maybe we can keep it." She said, No, people may be very heartbroken. Let's wait 1 or 2 more days. We're not sure. Let's wait." Oh, John was welling up with hope. It was growing again. And the next morning, it was December 24th. Again, he went hunting. And he got some birds and brought them home to eat. And he worked with the dog and played with the dog outside, and in the afternoon he kept looking down the road, worrying that other people might come and take the dog. And he noticed a Western Union man on his bicycle coming up. During the war, People were afraid to see this bicycle because they knew he was bringing bad news to the people about people being hurt or killed in the war. But the war was over, and he had no children anyway, so, maybe the Western Union man's going to other people. But he turned around and started coming toward John, and John became afraid, and he was wondering about what was in the telegram. And it was Jimmy. He knew Jimmy. He'd seen him often. He said, "Hello, Jimmy. What are you doing here?" "Hello, Mr. Noble. I have a telegram for you." "For me?" Thank you. I don't understand why I would have one, but thank you, Jimmy." And Jimmy left. He was afraid to open it up. "Maybe I better go and inform Mary." He went into the house and he said, "Mary, a telegram for us." Oh, she was frightened. They opened it up and they read it, and it said, "Try calling it lucky. Signed, a friend." I don't understand what it means. Try calling it lucky? Signed, a friend? I'm curious. And she thought, maybe it's the dog. Yes, maybe it is. So John went outside, and the dog was way over in the yard, and he hollered out, "Lucky? Lucky?" The dog looked up and ran up to John and jumped up on him and licking his face, and John tried to push him away, and he realized his name was Lucky. He looked at the telegram again, the connection with the dog, and he thought, oh, the young man who came yesterday with the injured arm that was hurt in the war. He was asking me about hunting and if I had a dog. Oh, John finally understood